Guys, it's Ebird Online again. I do hope you're well. And today you're in for a treat, because we're going to talk about the relationship of Emily and Kobe. If you can call it a relationship, which in fact, I don't. Yes, that's right, it's 90 Day Fiancé, and this week it's time for a special. And this video is entitled, The Problem with Emily. Guys, it's my supposition that Emily's parents have birthed a walking, talking, eating, sleeping, fussing and cussing, real-life brat. And no, I don't mean as in cute doll, I mean as in super brat. So as we know, last week, Kobe awoke in a different room from Emily and baby Coben. And when he voiced his displeasure, Emily said, "Oh my god, I know. I'm like so sorry." Well, you know what? I didn't believe her, and I believe I was right not to. I've drawn the following conclusions about Emily and her character. 1, she's a super brat of the highest order. And 2, she doesn't give an F about Kobe. And she's also a selfish liar. But we'll get to that all in good time. And guys, there isn't a person on this franchise that I feel more sorry for than Kobe. For him, Emily must be like a negative feeling that envelops him each time he awakes and realises that she still exists. And in rather a competitive field, Emily's taken the crown for this season's biggest biatch. And for those of you sitting pondering, how did she manage that? Well, I can tell you it didn't come easily. Nothing that's really worth having ever does. She put in the requisite hard work, and her reward? A dedicated video from the Ebird. Oh well, you can't win them all. Not every win deserves a prize. But before I begin my in-depth analysis of Emily and her character, i.e. surface observations, I just want to take the time to thank everybody for subscribing to my channel and for all your wonderful support. If you haven't done so yet, consider subscribing, it's fun over here. And if you enjoy the video, don't forget to smash the like button, it really helps my analytics. And so without further ado, I present to you, why is Emily such a brat? And also, how does she maintain this lofty status? So as I mentioned earlier, hard work was the key for Emily. She focused on the goal at hand, and finally she's achieved her aim. She manifested it, she visualised it, and then she became it. She's a first-class bona fide super brat, the genuine article, and hard work is integral in maintaining this status. As the late great Colin Powell once said, a dream doesn't become reality through magic, it takes sweat, determination and hard work. And boy did she put her back into it. First up, she used the power of her voice. She started out by snapping rudely every time her unlucky husband-to-be tried to touch their son. She also both shouted and barracked at him when he tried to change Coben's first nappy. He was doing it absolutely perfectly, but Emily saw red because the baby wipes were over a metre away. "You have to have everything right there," she whined. Oh good lord, he just doesn't care. She gives a negative running commentary to every single task he undertakes, and even some he doesn't, such as driving. In the first episode, she offered "Do you want to drive?" By the following day, she'd decided there was no way he could drive and she refused to let him drive. And of course she did so as rudely as possible. No, I don't understand either. And then Emily decided to harness the power of body language. Now this was a two-pronged attack, and not one to shy away from a challenge. She put her best foot forward in a dual offensive. Firstly, there were her facial expressions. Moody. Virtually always moody, but it does need to be twinned with "for no good reason." Moody for no good reason. I've used it myself, and I don't mind telling you guys, it's a deadly combo. She ensured she let her fiancé know that she was always ever so slightly peed off with him. But when she tired of being moody, she went in for ridicule and sarcasm. Oh guys, 2 of my personal favourites, and a very, very good choice, if I may say so. It is exceedingly difficult to rely on one negative facial expression to grind a person right down. You do need a smorgasbord of pessimism, and that's what Emily brings to this role. She rolled her eyes at every opportunity and snorted sarcastically, and she did it to her best effect when Kobe suggested that perhaps she shouldn't breastfeed in front of the whole family. And for the second part of body language, we have Emily's stance. And 9 times out of 10, this is one hand on the hip with her head cocked petulantly to one side. Now in case Kobe was numb enough to misinterpret any of these signals. She topped up her toxic body language with a self-satisfied smirk, the kind of smirk that says, "I think you're a freaking idiot." Other body language highlights include standing with both hands on hips as Kobe completes a task, preferably a task that's very unfamiliar, whilst shouting, "No, not like that, and you're doing it all wrong." Other problematic body language displays include folding her arms to denote the end of a conversation, looking around the room to indicate she's not listening anytime Kobe has an issue that he wants to discuss. But I think one of Emily's most successful body language tricks is her scurrilous use of eye widening. So she uses this not just on Kobe, but also I've seen her use it on her parents, mainly her dad. So like a lot of women from this franchise, Emily's a big fan of widening her eyes, raising her eyebrows and eyelids, and forming her mouth into an O to create the perfect baby face. Babies are submissive and innocent and non-threatening, and they also need looking after. It's perfect for Emily when she wants to either deflect or play dumb. The baby face demands whoever she's looking at look after her. And so the first time I saw her do this was at the restaurant when she let Kobe know that he wasn't going to see his son that night. And of course she was playing dumb, pretending, "I didn't know you'd be so upset." And then there was also a time when her dad was asking her at the dinner table how many months he'd have to financially support her and Kobe for. And again, the little baby face made a timely appearance. And next up, Emily, well, she has a flair for the arts. She dramatises fucking everything. So one of her first major dramas was the fact that on his very first night in America, Kobe refused to tell her exactly how much money he had in his bank account. She went, "Oh my God," and she stropped and moaned like a little child. And what was the reason for her ire? Why, of course, she needs a decent wedding, and she also doesn't want this janky fugazi ring that he gave her. She wants a nice engagement ring. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Emily's major concern. Not nappies, not food, not helping her dad out with the bills around the house, but shit for Emily. And guys, if you remember, Kobe actually said, when we lived in China, I paid for everything. It was all on me then. But like I said, Emily's almost a pro at deflection, and she said, "Yeah, so?" As if he wasn't making any sort of point. It's a shame I wasn't there, because I would have literally hammered it home. Another ridiculous drama that Emily managed to amplify was, of course, breast pump gate. That's right, guys, it's even got its own gate. It's definitely important enough for its own gate. Emily and her family had already made clear that nothing was going to change in respect of her breastfeeding and breast pumping activities, and she was going to continue doing it in front of the whole family and any friends who popped by. Instead of just letting the conversation fall fallow, Emily decided to huff and puff, and she told Kobe, "Go and help my mum in the kitchen." She spoke to him in a way that I've never even heard her speak to baby Coben, extremely dismissively. And of course then, a colossal argument ensued. Emily's predilection for a grand argument closing statement means that very often she prolongs arguments by about, 70 to 75%. It really is a talent of hers. Another major dramatic moment was when baby Coben didn't fall to sleep within the first 10 minutes of being in bed with Emily and Father Kobe for the very first time. She huffed and she puffed and she said, "This is not going to work. Kobe, go and sleep in the spare room." And he had no choice but to do so, because Emily literally started hyperventilating, saying, "He's going to get out of his routine. He doesn't know what's happening." No, Emily, of course he doesn't. He's an 18-month-old baby. If babies knew what was happening, they'd be adults. We'd stop looking after them and we'd send them straight down the mines pronto. Oh God, she really is a dipshit. And then finally this week, when we have the horse shit saga. So Kobe wanted to help out around the house, and Emily suggested he help her mum muck out the horses. Instead of just letting him get on with it, Emily decided to go along in a management capacity, and she decided to supervise his work and appraise him, shovel of horse shit by shovel of horse shit. She's crazy. She stood over him barking orders and saying, "Why are you doing it like that? Put more shit on your shovel. Don't drag the shit down, just dig it straight out. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to let you know how to shovel shit." But guys, What Kobe did next was ruthlessly beautiful. Instead of shoveling shit, he lost his shit, and he actually told her in front of her mum, "Shut the fuck up." But true to form, she didn't. She opined once more that she was only trying to help him, and then she stormed off, shouting and swearing about Kobe to the horses as she went past. As Emily sees it, she was only trying to help, and for no reason at all, he told her to shut the F up. Emily, it wasn't for no reason, it's because he wanted you to shut the fuck up. In fact, we all did. And so when a poor beleaguered Kobe finally trudged back to the house, Emily was stood there and she was salivating, not for her food, but ready for a fight. And she told him in no uncertain terms, "My dad would never, ever say that to my mum." Two things, Emily. One, your dad wouldn't need to. And two, your mum's not a massive super brat. Oh, I guess that's the same point, but anyway, you get the theme. You get the idea. And she said to him, "You don't get the big picture, that what you said to me was wrong." But was it? Was it really wrong? How else was he supposed to get you to shut the fuck up? I'm stumped if I know. But finally he apologises, and when he said, "I'm sorry," again, the petulant cock of the head, and she said, "You're sorry for what?" Oh, good Lord, guys. I nearly lost it. He's sorry he ever met you. But he said, "I'm sorry for swearing at you." And she said, "Okay." Guys, drama on pause. So how was the super brat that is Emily created? Of course the main culprit is Emily herself. But running up the rear, in a very close second, is her dad. Emily's previously said she was an extremely naughty child, and she had felons for boyfriends. Her dad's put up with all of this, and he for the last 18 months has been behaving like a surrogate dad to his grandson, Coben. Between her parents, there's not much they won't do for her, and even when they see her being selfish, or mistreating or misspeaking to Kobe, they say nothing. And I think this has helped to fuel the inner super brat. I have pretty much every reason to believe that Kobe will not stay the distance. This week he said, "I'm losing my patience with this girl. Kobe, I lost it about 5 weeks ago, so you're doing well, mate." Well guys, that's about everything. What I want to know is, what's your number one super brat moment from Emily? Please put your moments in comments down below. And as usual with any other comments you have about this couple. Guys, as per usual, thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and all of that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Because as we see from this week, it turns out that Kobe has literally no idea about what he's going to do for work in America. And despite the fact that Emily's obviously never discussed this with him, we all know Emily's going to be very, very moody. Thank you so much for watching. You've been listening to Ebird Online, and I bid you good day.